Greetings and salutations! Thank you for lending an ear to The Voice of the Times this Saturday, June 19, 2021. For today's editorial, government assistance should not stop at airlines. Earlier this week, Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III again assured the airline sector that the government is willing to offer financial assistance to help it recover from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The government's intentions are well placed, and the manner in which assistance has been extended has, at least so far, been both practical and prudent. Airlines, however, are not the only businesses with a rational claim to material support from the government to aid its recovery from the pandemic-induced economic downturn. And what is being done on behalf of the airline industry may open the floodgates to calls for similar action for other sectors, and we frankly think it should. In a statement to media on Wednesday, Dominguez highlighted the participation of government financial institutions, or GFIs, Land Bank of the Philippines, or Land Bank, and Development Bank of the Philippines, or DBP, in the financing package offered to Cebu Pacific Air Incorporated. The 16 billion peso 10-year term loan given to the airline was funded by Land Bank and DBP, along with Asia United Bank Corporation, Bank of the Philippine Islands, Metropolitan Bank and Trust Company, and Union Bank of the Philippines. Dominguez also suggested that similar public-private financing assistance would be available to Cebu Pacific rival Philippine Airlines, or PAL. Our GFIs are awaiting the outcome of the Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing of PAL in the US, as well as their final rehabilitation plan, which has yet to be formally submitted, Dominguez told reporters. Cebu Pacific and PAL reported net losses for 2020 of 22.2 billion pesos and 73 billion pesos respectively, after all commercial flights were halted by the government from mid-March through May last year, and ongoing restrictions on both domestic and international travel severely reduced the airline's operations for the rest of the year. There is no question that some form of assistance from the government to the airlines is justified. Their inability to operate was due to government action, unavoidable though that action may have been. The mode of the assistance extended, loaned through GFIs in conjunction with private sector sources of funding, is also quite reasonable, as it becomes an investment rather than an expense. With the passage of the first Biennium 1 financial stimulus measure last year, the government has extended various forms of assistance to Philippine businesses that have been hit hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. But the consensus is that the effort has not nearly been enough. Estimates vary according to their source, but between 10 and 20% of businesses are believed to have permanently shut down as a consequence of the pandemic and the restrictions necessary to try to control it, resulting in, among other things, persistently high unemployment. There are naturally limits on how much the government can do. Financial resources are not infinite, and the government has already spent close to 700 billion pesos on its pandemic response. However, the model established with the assistance of Cebu Pacific and presumably PAL, once it completes its U.S. bankruptcy proceedings, is one that can be expanded and used for other businesses as well. Government participation in a loan package can help reduce risk for private sector lenders and encourage more business lending, particularly to the micro, small, and medium enterprise, or MSME sector, where Philippine banks continue to fall woefully short of both their legal requirements and good economic sense. By the same token, loans that are at least partly provided by the private sector impose some sensible standards on business borrowers. Businesses will have to demonstrate that they will use the funds productively, and that financing will ensure that they will be viable businesses. This will mean, of course, that some businesses may be refused assistance, but this will ensure that more deserving businesses that will ultimately help restore the country's economic growth will not be overlooked. As the country begins to turn its attention from merely withstanding the COVID-19 pandemic to beginning to recover from it, we urge the government to put greater emphasis on broader, more long-term support for economic sectors and individual businesses, rather than short-term relief, in order to maximize the benefits of limited resources. And that's the editorial for Saturday, June 19, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to our digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and listen to The Voice of the Times.